Hi guys, this is Seb Morgan for CV Genius. I'm sat here with Gareth Hoyle, who is the Managing Director of Marketing Signals. And Gareth has written quite widely about his experiences switching over to the 4-day work week. What led you to trial the 4-day work week? I understand you wanted to improve productivity. You also had an employee who needed help with childcare.
Yeah, so Jack, our developer, was looking into nurseries around where he lives in Leeds. We're all remote as well, which probably helps with the 4-day work week. And he was really struggling to find someone that would take his son for 5 days. But quite a lot of people would take for a few days or 16 hours, 24 hours, whatever the case may be. So he approached me and said, look, I think I could do my job in 4 days if I just don't mess about, for want of a better word. And it worked really well. And Jack was more motivated to do a good job in the 4 days that he was here. And yeah, it just seemed to work. I'm also quite a strange employer, I suppose, in that I don't really feel that 2 days off in exchange for 5 days on is a fair swap of labour for relaxation. I just feel that by the time you finish work on Friday, you're tired. Then you spend all day Saturday morning either running around after your kids or tidying your house. And then before you know it, Saturday night, you wake up the next day, it's Sunday, and your brain's back into what's going to happen next week at work. And if I find it tiring and I'm motivated as a business owner that collects the profits, I can only imagine how tiring my salaried employees must feel. So I wanted to do something about it. And the only thing that I can actually influence in any great detail is my own labour force. So that's why we implemented it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about the specific model that you've used?
Yes, so we still need to offer 5 days a week cover for our clients. So let's not forget that as the primary reason why we exist as a business, is to service clients. The way I wanted to look at it is I split my teams into team 1 and team 2, for want of a better naming convention. And the way it works is that in week A, you work Monday to Thursday, and then in week B, you work Tuesday to Friday. So every 2 weeks, you get a 4-day weekend. And what I like about this is it actually gives you what I'd consider to be a real break. I see a lot of people working Monday to Thursday, Monday to Thursday, Monday to Thursday. Brilliant if you're in a non-client facing role. So we consider a full-time role to be 32 billable hours. Now, billable doesn't necessarily mean for the client. It could be training. It could be internal meetings, internal projects. And I don't really mind, within reason, what 8 hours a day you work. I don't really care where my team work from, as long as they've got good internet and they're available. So in theory, people could go for a 7-day holiday, do 3 days of work from a cafe or from a co-working space somewhere sunny, and then take the rest off as their 4-day week.
It sounds like a total dream. How are your employees finding having the flexible extra day?
In the first couple of months, I think a few of the team were, I suppose, unsure what to do with themselves. Because if you've had sort of 15 years, 20 years of work experience where you work Monday to Friday, 9 till 5:30, Monday to Friday, 9 till 5:30, to then turn around and overnight have every other Friday and Monday off. I think that for the first couple of months, people were logging on. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you live on Slack? Because you're off. And some of them were like, yeah, I just didn't know what to do. I think it's just so conditioned that on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday you're at work, that it just took a little while for them to transition. So I have my children half the time, because I'm divorced. I tend to try and take the Friday off before I have the kids and just get everything straight, ready, so that when I've got the kids, I'm free from the burden of domestic life, so that I can just spend quality time with my children. If there's one thing that I can say has been a massive, massive advantage to implementing the 4-day work week in such a competitive labour market, is that my attraction and retention has never been higher. As long as you plan it properly and set that expectation with the client, it will be done here. By Wednesday, we'll have started the research. By Friday, we'll be building the debt. On Monday, I will assess the debt, and then we'll probably send it to you Tuesday, Wednesday. If you need a video to go with it, it might push it to Thursday. Hopefully that fits in with your schedule. As long as you're open and honest with it, then it's not an issue. Occasionally we will get like a emergency thing that happens. But yeah, to summarize the question, just plan your work and just tell the client when it'll be done. If you trust your team to do a job for you and you believe in their output and their skill set, it's just a case of measuring and managing, because I think it was Drucker, the Austrian economist, that said if you can measure it, you can manage it. So we've always used time tracking, and obviously we clarified with everyone that we're not time tracking them to try and trip them up. We're time tracking them to make sure that the efficiencies are in place, that we're working with efficacy. Like, there's no point doing something if the output isn't there. Or we need to analyze what they've done in that time period to not achieve the desired outcome. So I think there's that. In terms of employee performance and benchmarking success, I think regular communications with everyone and just making sure that they are happy and making sure they're not feeling overwhelmed, because it is a slightly longer working day. I think that we're very lucky in digital that we can manage and measure our time. And because it tends to be projects rather than sort of day-to-day assembly line type work. So we might be given a list of tasks to complete for a client project on the first of the month. Well, we've got till the end of the month to complete them. So it's up to us how we manage that task list. Whereas if you're working assembling cars, for argument's sake, like I say, you can't have 8 cars that are 80% made all queuing up waiting for you to get back from your 4 days off. But then in theory, if you can hammer a bit harder, which means that you have to do 2 less hammers to get the nail in the hole, then why can't you do the same output in 4 days? I'm sure there are many case studies out there, because the government did an official 4-day week trial where they didn't just look at fancy dancy digital agencies. They looked at manufacturing, they looked at public sector, they looked at call center as an example, where you've got to, you might have to provide customer facing coverage 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. Like, that's going to be quite difficult. A sort of like minimum wage type employee, that would probably be quite difficult to do as a 4-day week. I think that they've got to be self-motivated. They've got to be a self-starter. I sound like a cheesy HR job description right now, but they have to be able to work off their own back. They have to be able to manage their own time, because we're remote, there's nobody sat next to you or at the end of the bank of desks going, "Hey, Sebastian, you're not working hard enough." I love these feel-good stories that the team tell me about on how they're using this time off. That I know when we have new starters for the first couple of weeks, when I speak to them, because I still check in with the majority of the staff once a week, they're like, "I didn't really know what to do." And my initial answer is, well, as long as you're not working, then I'm fine with you not knowing what to do. Find something to do. Go and volunteer somewhere. Take up a new skill. I will happily pay for training courses if I can see that there's a business benefit as well as a career progression benefit for the employee. Because don't forget, I don't expect employees to work with me all of their working career. As a digital marketing agency, if we get 4 to 5 years out of an employee, then that's considered quite a long tenure, really, because, well, you wouldn't eat at the same restaurant every night. So why would you sit in the same seat every day forever?
Do you have an example of a good 4-day work week interview question and a bad one?
when people are, I think it's the persistence of question asking that becomes the red flag. And it should be seen as a perk, not a given. Although it is a given. I know that's a bit backwards to say that. If it's more like, so when am I off? When am I off? It seems a bit like you do realise that we still get a week's worth of output from you. It's just that you have to do it in 4 days. Whereas a good question that we would expect to hear in an interview would be, is there any funding for activities that I can do in this time? So every person that we interview, this is a new thing for them. And like I say, we're 20 people, so we don't have a very high staff turnover. So we're still learning the questions that are getting thrown at us in the interviews. And quite often we don't have the answer. So we will just tell them, this is what we would probably do. But the reality is it's your time to do with it what you want.
So one green flag then, would that be seeing hobbies and interests on their CV?
But yeah, just having outside of work interests, I think, is required. And don't forget, I have 2 children. That is a bloody busy outside of work interest. So that, I mean, I'm all about work-life balance, as I probably said about 100 times today. And having the ability to hang out with your kids at a certain age don't want to hang out with you, but that's a different argument, is priceless. It's priceless for me, really, that family time. Yeah, I think that a combination of working any 8 hours within a 24-hour time period, coupled with work from anywhere in the world, added to the 4-day work week, is about as unconventional as you can get in 2023. But I really do hope that as we go into the future, this becomes the norm in many industries, because we used to work 6 days a week until Henry Ford introduced the 5-day work week. So surely it's just natural progression that as we get cleverer, as we get more skilled, as we can utilize AI, that we can free up a lot of the monotonous, time-consuming tasks, which frees us up to take that 3rd day of rest with 4 days at work. So I think we are about as unconventional as we can get at the moment. I'm not sure how more unconventional we could get, other than maybe we all work in Oculus Quests all day.